I hit him over a coffee, but that's the short version. The real story begins a few minutes earlier when the day was already wrong from the moment I woke up. It was too early, too cold, and I was late for a job interview I needed more than I needed dignity. My white shirt, borrowed, hastily ironed, smelling of cheap soap, was the only thing making me look remotely reliable. I was mentally rehearsing canned answers as I walked quickly, clutching a hot coffee cup like a talisman against failure. That's when he appeared, literally appeared. Out of nowhere, as if the city had spat him out just to test me. He was distracted, talking on the phone, laughing at something that clearly didn't involve late bills or chronic anxiety. His shoulder hit mine hard enough to knock the world off its axis. The coffee flew. The hot liquid spread through the air in slow motion and landed right on my chest. On my white shirt, for a second, no one moved. Not me. Not him. Not the universe. Then he laughed. It wasn't a full-blown laugh. It was worse. It was a short, disbelieving chuckle, like someone watching a funny stumble and deciding it was entertainment. Seriously? He said, looking at the coffee stain as if it were a piece of abstract art. That was almost poetic. I don't remember deciding to hit him. My body just went. The punch was a closed fist, direct, with a precision I didn't know I had. The impact was sharp. The sound echoed louder than I expected. His phone fell to the ground. The laughter died in the air. He took 2 steps back before falling onto the sidewalk, completely stunned. The people around reacted with that typical delay of absurd scenes. A gasp here, and oh my god, there's someone pulling out their phone to film. "Are you blind?" I yelled, my hands stinging and my heart pounding in my throat. "Look what you did." He slowly brought a hand to his jaw as if testing if it still worked. When he looked up, there was a trickle of blood at the corner of his mouth. And then he smiled, not a nice smile. Not a friendly smile, an interested smile. "Wow," he said, getting up far too calmly for someone who had just been punched. "That was unexpected. Get out of my sight," I growled. "Before I do worse." He looked at my stained shirt, then at my face, then back at the shirt. As if he were evaluating a complicated equation. "I paid for the coffee," he said. "Technically, we're even." That was the last straw. "Technically, you're an idiot," I retorted. "And I don't remember authorizing you to enter my day." For a second, I thought he would talk back. That he would yell, that he would threaten me. Instead, he took a step closer, completely ignoring the risk of another punch. "Do you always solve things like this?" he asked. "With violence and good lines?" "I solve idiots like this." He tilted his head, amused, noted. I walked away before my anger could turn into something worse. I walked fast, trembling, with a ruined shirt and the certainty that the interview was lost. What I didn't know, what I couldn't have known, was that our encounter wasn't over. 2 hours later, my email arrived. "The interview has been canceled. We appreciate your interest." No explanation. No apology. That night, when I got home, I found an envelope slipped under my door. Inside, enough money to pay my overdue rent. No signature. No note. The next day, my laptop, which had been acting up for weeks, turned on as if it were new. And then came the message. Unknown number. No picture. No name. "You hit hard." My stomach sank. I replied instantly. "Who are you?" The reply took a few minutes. A few minutes too long. "Someone you got off on the wrong foot with." My chest tightened. "Stop messing with me." This time the reply was immediate. "You didn't seem to be messing around when you hit me." I spent the night wide awake. In the following days, I began to feel his presence in everything. The bus I almost missed waited for me. The ticket I was sure I'd get disappeared from the system. A grocery bag appeared at the front desk with exactly the things I used to buy even. The wrong brand of chocolate I hated but always ended up getting. He didn't appear. He didn't show himself. But he was there, one night, exhausted. I stopped in the middle of the sidewalk and said out loud to no one and to him at the same time, "Stop following me." The wind answered first. Then my phone vibrated. "If I were following you, you would know." My blood ran cold. This is harassment. A few seconds later, no, this is curiosity. That's when I knew. I wasn't dealing with an ordinary stalker, nor with a poorly resolved flirtation. I had punched someone who wasn't used to hearing no, and he had decided I was a problem too interesting to be ignored. And somewhere deep in my chest, against all logic, I also began to feel the spark. not a fear of war. I spent the first week pretending nothing was happening. It was the kind of lie you tell to survive. If I didn't name it, maybe it would disappear. Maybe it was just a coincidence. Maybe I was exaggerating. Maybe the universe had decided, for some twisted reason, to give me a break. It didn't. It started with little things, the kind of detail that only bothers you after it's repeated too much to be ignored. The traffic light that always turned red for me started to turn green at the last second. The building security guard, who never smiled, started calling me by my name. The neighborhood market, which was always out of stock, magically had exactly what I needed when I walked in. None of this was impossible. All of it, together, was too improbable. And then came the first encounter after the punch. I was leaving the laundromat, arms full of still warm clothes, when I heard a voice behind me, "You should stop using cheap laundry detergent. It ruins the fabric." I froze. I turned slowly, already prepared to attack again if necessary. It was him. No phone this time. No rush, leaning against a post as if it were the most natural place in the world for someone who clearly didn't need to be there. He wore clothes that were too simple for someone who moved with such confidence. Nothing flashy, nothing obvious. And yet, everything about him seemed out of place in that neighborhood. "You have 5 seconds," I said. After that, I scream. "Fair enough." He raised his hands in a theatrical surrender. 1, I don't follow you. 2, you drop this. He held something out to me. My resume. The one I had lost on the day of the interview. My blood boiled. "How do you have this?" 3, he continued, ignoring the question. 4, your white shirt didn't suit you. 5, you should smile more when you're angry. You look almost charming. I dropped the clothes on the floor. "You're insane." "Maybe," he shrugged, "but I'm not wrong." "You messed with my interview." The sentence slipped out before I could hold it back. "It was you." His smile wavered for the first time. It didn't disappear, but it changed. It became more attentive. "I don't mess with small things," he replied. "And if I had, you'd be working right now." "Then why was I canceled?" "Because you accepted too little." He took a step closer. "People like you always ask for less than they're worth." "People like me?" "The ones who survived on their own." That hit deeper than any punch. "Get out of my life," I said, my voice firmer than I felt. "I'm not a puzzle for you to solve." He watched me for a few long seconds, as if deciding whether to respect that or not. "I don't solve puzzles," he said finally. "I watch fires." "Then go watch another one." I walked past him without looking back, my heart racing, my whole body on alert. Only when I turned the corner did I realize my hands were shaking. That night, the building next to mine went dark for 3 hours. A short circuit, nothing serious. But the smell of smoke drifted in through my window and brought with it a strange, unsettling feeling, like a premonition of something bigger. My phone vibrated. "You don't like fires." "Noted." I threw the phone on the bed as if it were burning. "Stop," I typed angrily. The reply came too quickly. "You started it." That's when the dynamic shifted. I stopped running. I started provoking. If he showed up by chance at the same cafe, I'd sit at the next table and complain about the loud music. If I felt him watching, I'd stare into empty space as if I could see him. If some mysterious help appeared, I'd refuse it out loud, just to see if he could hear. He always listened. "You're impossible," he said one night when he finally sat down in front of me without asking permission. "You're at my table." A technicality. "You don't know how to coexist. You don't know how to yield." "I don't yield to strangers." "Then stop treating me like one." The silence that followed was dense. Heavy, loaded with something neither of us named. "What's your name?" I asked. He smiled that dangerous way again. "When you stop wanting to hit me." "Never." "Then we're balanced." I should have hated him. Truly, and I did. But I also hated how much he made me laugh in the midst of my anger. How our arguments had a rhythm like an aggressive dance. How he always seemed one step ahead, not to control me, but to challenge me. "You like to annoy me," I said. "I like to see you alive," he answered. "Annoyance is just the quickest way there. You don't know me." Yet. When he got up to leave, he left something on the table. A matchstick. Used? What is this? I asked. A reminder, he said, already walking away. Some things burn slowly, others just need friction. I stood there, looking at the matchstick, feeling something dangerous growing in my chest. It wasn't fear, it wasn't curiosity. It was the unsettling certainty that this war was just beginning. And that, if I wasn't careful, the fire wouldn't just be his. After the matchstick, I went 2 days without seeing him. Not 2 days of peace. 2 days of anticipation. It was ridiculous. I knew it. I had spent years surviving without depending on anyone, handling everything myself, suspicious even of my own shadow. And suddenly, this man with no name, no official face, no plausible explanation, had achieved what no one had dared before, to occupy space in my head without permission. On the 3rd day, I decided it was over. I left home determined to live a normal routine, one without suspense or invisible notes. I took the subway, walked to a small bookstore where I used to hide when I needed to think, and squeezed between tall shelves, breathing in the smell of old paper like someone seeking shelter. That's where I heard the voice. You always go straight to the history section when you want to pretend you understand the world. I closed my eyes for a second, just one. You have 5 seconds to explain how you know that, I said, without turning. You always pick books about ancient wars when you're angry. He appeared beside me, far too casual. And romances when you're sad. Today, you came armed. Get away from me. No. I turned to face him, ready for a verbal assault to match. He was closer than I expected. Close enough for me to smell the discreet scent, not sweet, not obvious. Close enough to annoy me for noticing details. The small scar near his eyebrow. The way his dark eyes watched me as if I were an interesting phenomenon, not a target. You can't keep showing up like this, I said. This isn't flirting, it's an invasion. I disagree. He took a book from the shelf and flipped through it. Invasion implies force. I just accompany. Accompanying without consent has another name. You never asked me to stop thinking about you. I asked you to stop following me. Different techniques. I let out a short, incredulous laugh. You're unbearable. And you're still here. I touched the book he was holding and pushed it back onto the shelf. Don't confuse resistance with curiosity. Don't confuse curiosity with desire. That hung in the air. Between us, almost palpable. What's your problem? I asked more quietly. You have money, reach time. You could be doing anything. Why me? He stared at me for a long moment. Not with irony this time, not with games. Because you didn't apologize, he answered. Not when you bumped into me. Not after. I wasn't wrong. Exactly. It was the strangest possible answer. And for some reason, the most honest. A loud noise interrupted the moment, a sharp crash followed by screams from the street. People ran to the bookstore window. Smoke was rising a few meters away. What was that? I asked. He was already moving. Stay here. No way. I went after him before he could stop me. Outside, a car had hit a post. Nothing serious, but the hood was smoking, small flames starting to spread. Did someone call the fire department? He asked, already taking off his own coat. You're not going to, I started. I am. He threw the coat over the initial fire with precision, smothering the flames while shouting instructions to those nearby. Everything about him moved too fast for improvisation. It was efficiency training. Control amidst chaos. When it was all over, when the danger had passed, I was standing there watching, with my heart racing for reasons that went beyond the scare. You do that like you've done it before, I said. He gave me a quick glance. Some people learn to deal with fires early. You talk as if the world is always about to explode. For some of us, it is. There was something there. A shadow. An untold story. You're not normal, I said. Good. We walked side by side for a few meters in uncomfortable silence. You trust me too much, he said suddenly. I don't trust you. But you followed me to the fire. Curiosity, I retorted. Desire, he corrected. Arrogance. Chemistry. I stopped walking. There is no us. He stopped too. Yet. I should have walked away. Really. Instead, I stood there, facing this man who seemed a dangerous combination of control and chaos. "Leave me alone," I finally asked. Not as an order, as a challenge. He took one step closer, just one. Enough to invade my space without touching. "Say it looking in my eyes." I looked, and there, in that stupid second, something shifted. It wasn't romance. It wasn't surrender. It was recognition. Two enemies realizing the war would be too long to feign indifference. "You're going to regret this," I said. "Probably," he replied with a half smile, "but not today." He walked away, blending into the crowd as if he had never been there. My phone buzzed minutes later. "You ran toward the fire with me. You don't do that for just anyone." I closed my eyes, feeling my chest tighten. "Don't confuse adrenaline with interest," I replied. The answer came later, cruelly calm. "Then stop waiting for me." And it was in that instant that I understood, too late, that this war was no longer just for fun. Because I was no longer trying to escape him. I was starting to want to win. And no one comes out unscathed when two prides decide the prize is each other. After the bookstore, he stopped pretending it was a coincidence. He no longer appeared by chance. He appeared because he wanted to. He didn't send constant messages that would be too predictable, but he always emerged at the exact moment I was about to make a mistake. As if he knew when I was about to cross the street distracted. As if he knew when I was too tired to think straight. As if he knew when I was too lonely to refuse company. "You have a terrible relationship with danger," he commented one night, walking beside me as if it were normal. "And you have a strange obsession with me." "No," he gave a lopsided smile. "I have an obsession with poorly controlled fires." "Are you calling me a fire?" "I'm saying you don't notice when you're about to burn everything down." I should have sent him away. Instead, I argued. We always argued. We fought like people sharpening blades, fast, ironic, intelligent. He provoked me with calculated phrases. I returned with direct attacks. Neither of us backed down. Neither of us touched the subject that truly mattered. How much that tension was ceasing to be just anger. Until it was no longer safe. The first real threat came disguised as an accident. A small fire too small to be random started in the building where I was temporarily working. Nothing was destroyed, no one was hurt, but the smell of smoke clung to me like a warning. When I got out to the street, he was already there. "This wasn't a coincidence," I said. "No," he replied, serious for the first time. "And that's why you're staying with me tonight. You don't own me. Tonight, I do." There was no time to argue. A strange movement across the street. A man watching too intently. A parked car with its engine running for too long. He pulled me by the arm and put me inside a car I had never seen. "Who are you?" I screamed. "Someone who can't afford to be wrong right now." The chase was short, silent, and too efficient for improvisation. When we finally stopped, my whole body was shaking, not from fear, but from adrenaline. "Does this happen often?" I asked. He took a deep breath before answering. "More than I'd like. You live like this?" "No." He faced me. "I survive like this." It was the first crack. That night, sitting in a place too high to be comfortable with the city glittering below, something shifted between us. There was no kiss, no touch. Just truth trickling out slowly. "You can't get involved with me," he said. "You already are. Not in the way that matters." "Then why do you continue?" He took a while to answer. "Because when I'm with you, the world becomes silent. That disarmed me more than any chase. You're dangerous," I murmured. "And you're the only thing I can't control." The silence between us was too heavy to ignore. He moved closer, slowly, like someone testing the limits of a minefield. He stopped inches from my face. "If I cross this line," he said, "there's no turning back." My heart was beating so hard I was sure he could hear it. "Then don't cross it," I replied. He smiled, sad, contained. I had already crossed it when I decided to protect you. It was then that I realized. He wasn't just a man with secrets. He was a man surrounded by power. And I was in the middle of it. The next day, I saw his face on television, not directly. Not announced. But in the background, behind an official speech, surrounded by important men with a posture too trained to be chance. My stomach sank. The pieces began to fit together. The reach. The silence. The fires controlled before they became tragedies. When I confronted him, he didn't deny it. I didn't lie to you, he said. I just didn't tell you everything. Who are you? I asked, my voice breaking. He looked at me as if that question were a sentence. Someone the country knows by another name. The kiss that almost happened that night was interrupted by sirens in the distance. And I knew with a cruel clarity that loving that man meant going to war against something much bigger than both of us. And that, if I continued, there would be no way out without fire. The truth didn't come as a confession. It came as chaos. It was night when he drove me out of the city, too far for it to be a coincidence. The road was narrow, dark, flanked by trees that seemed to whisper as we passed. No music in the car. No explanation. Just the sound of the engine and that living tension between us, as if the world were holding its breath. If I asked you to trust me right now, he said, without looking at me, would you? I laughed, humorless. You're asking far too late. All the same. The car stopped near an old, isolated building, surrounded by fences too high and cameras too discreet not to be noticed. Before I could ask anything, the ground trembled slightly. A distant boom echoed. What was that? I asked. The beginning of the end, he answered. The place went on alert. Red lights, muffled shouts. People running. This wasn't an improvised attack. It was a settling of accounts. They're going to try and use you, he said, finally looking at me. To force me to obey. Who are they? He took a deep breath. People who won't accept that I chose to leave the game. What game? The one that begins when you're born with a name that's too powerful. I didn't need anything more. The silence completed the sentence. The president's son, I whispered. He closed his eyes. I wanted you to know me before you knew that. The sound of a nearby explosion shook the building. Fire began to spread on the east side. The smell of smoke filled the air. You have to leave, he said, holding my face in his hands. Now, not without you. I can't leave yet. Then I'm staying. He kissed me. It wasn't careful. It wasn't sweet. It was urgent, intense, desperate. A kiss from someone who knows it might be the last. My hands grabbed his shirt. The world disappeared for a whole second. If I survive this, he murmured against my lips, I'll find you. Wherever you are. You will survive, I said. Because I won't forgive you if you don't. He smiled, that dangerous and honest smile of his. Is that a threat? It's a promise. Sirens were approaching. He pulled me behind a wall as the fire advanced. The chaos grew. People shouted orders. The building began to give way. Now, he said. No, I replied, firm. Together. For a second, he hesitated. Then he nodded. We ran. The heat was intense. The flames licked the walls. A beam crashed down in front of us, blocking the main exit. This way. He yelled, pulling me down a side corridor. When we finally got out, the sky was lit by the fire. Helicopters cut through the air. Too many people. Too many eyes. He stopped. If I take one more step with you, he said, there's no turning back. I held his hand. Then stopped running. In that instant, cameras turned. Microphones, voices. Mr. Carter. Someone yelled, is it true you're the president's son? The world froze. He looked at me one last time as if asking for permission. I squeezed his hand. Choose, I said. Power or the truth? He took a deep breath and turned to the cameras. Yes, he said, loud enough for the entire country to hear. I am the president's son. And this is the woman I love. The silence was absolute. That night, the country burned with debates, headlines, and scandals. But there, in the middle of the fire, I knew. The impossible love hadn't ended. It had just begun. The world was still on fire when we were alone for the first time. Not the literal world that one had already burned, been reported, debated, judged. The other one, the internal one. The one that only existed between us, that no one could touch. The room was too large to feel intimate, but he closed the door like someone closing a border. No security. No cameras. No urgency. Just us. He took off his jacket slowly, as if each movement were a conscious choice. There was no more rush. No more escape. The power that had always surrounded him was on the outside, contained by thick walls and purchased silence. Inside, he was just a man who had survived. "You're looking at me as if you still don't believe it," he said, loosening his tie. "I don't," I replied. "Part of me thinks you'll disappear if I blink." He smiled, not that dangerous smile from before. A slower one, warmer. "Then don't blink." I approached first. Not out of need, out of decision. My hands touched the button of his shirt and stopped there, feeling the strong heart beneath the fabric. "We can still stop," I said. "I know." Neither of us moved for a whole second. The air between us felt electric, too charged to be ignored. Then he tilted his head, his forehead resting against mine. "After everything," he murmured, "I just want to be chosen without a strategy." I unbuttoned his shirt, one button at a time. There was no hurry. Every inch revealed was a territory conquered without war. When my fingers touched his warm skin, he closed his eyes, breathing deeply, as if this were more intense than any fire he had ever faced. "You were always too much control," I teased, sliding my hand across his chest. "And you were always the risk I wanted to take." He pulled me by the waist firmly, without false delicacy. My body responded before my mind. The kiss came differently than the others, not urgent, not desperate. Deep, lingering. A kiss that said, "Asterisk, we stay asterisk." My back touched the cold wall. The contrast drew a gasp to me that he captured with his mouth, slow, attentive to my every reaction. His hands didn't explore, they learned. As if I were something too rare to be rushed. "Look at me," he asked. Softly, I looked. His eyes were dark, warm, free of masks. This wasn't the president's son, nor the dangerous man. Just someone who had survived the fire and chosen to love out loud. "This," he said, resting his forehead against mine again. "This is what I fought to have." My hands clung to him. Not for balance, for will. The world outside could demand speeches, decisions, sacrifices. Inside, time belonged to us. When he finally kissed me again, it was even slower. As if he knew that the real luxury wasn't power, nor money, nor the family name, it was to remain. Afterward, we lay in silence, our bodies close, our breaths in sync, the city glittering distantly through the window. "They'll still try to tear us apart," I said. "I know. It's going to be hard." He turned his face to me, propping his head on his hand. "Nothing's too hard after surviving the end of the world." I smiled. "So we stay?" He smiled back. Not like someone making a promise. Like someone making a decision, we stay. And for the first time since the spilled coffee, since the punch, since the fire, I slept without the fear of waking up alone. Because some loves don't begin with promises. They begin when everything that could burn has already burned.